Okay, I think we're almost set. So now we're going to do introductions. And if you could give me the who, what, where, who you are, what kind of boat you're on, and where you're located, we'll start with that. So we're going to start with Cameo up in the top when you're ready.
Hello, we are Blaine and Marnie, and we are on Sailing Cameo, and we are a Leopard 40 catamaran. And sorry, I'm super slow. We just arrived in St. Martin at like 4 o'clock this morning, so I'm like, all over the place.
All right, we've got Fresh to Salty.
So we are Latrell and Steven. We're on a 40-foot Jeanneau DS, currently in Vero Beach.
Steve's sighting.
Another haul.
Oh, no.
You can't see him? Did you say Steven's hiding?
No, other Steven.
Oh.
Well,
I was going to say, there he is.
Yeah, two Stevens.
So yeah, we're in Vero Beach for now, but we're going to be heading to the Keys maybe next weekend. Hopefully.
Awesome, exciting. That'll be great. Marigan?
Yeah, hey, we're Colleen, and I'm Colleen, and Julia, like I said, is not feeling super great. And then we have Peach, our little dog. We're on Marigan, which is a Fast Passage 39. So she's a old, stable, reliable monohull blue water cruiser. We're in San Diego, and sadly, we're in San Diego for probably a little while, dealing with some issues, but it kind of ties into like the topic of today and like being smart and how we mix preparation and intelligence and planning with luck. So, yep.
Well, perfect. You came on the right time. And sailing together, Anna.
Sorry. My name's Anna, and George is here too, but he's navigating. And we're on a 3-masted steel-hulled schooner, the Sarah G, and we're currently sailing in Abaco, Bahamas.
I'm super jealous right now. Super jealous. Okay, this always takes me forever. Here we go. Okay, so I'm Randy. This is my husband, Steve. He's a special guest again today. He was here last month, and he loved it so much that he's going to join us again. So he might be in and out. We have certain projects going on. But we are on a 2002 Fontaine Peugeot Athena. It's a sailing catamaran, and it's 38 feet long. And she's been our home for the past 6 years. We've been based out of Stuart, Florida for about 4.5 to 5 of those years. And our first year of boat life, we spent in the Keys and the Bahamas. And then Steve and I actually just got back from the Keys. We've raised our son on the boat for a few years, but he's recently moved off. So now we're just semi-retired and free nesters, empty nesters, going wherever the wind will take us. So our next big trip will hopefully be up the east coast of the US to Rhode Island or possibly Maine. So that's our next big trip. All right, so that's the who, what, where. Now we're going to get into our topic, which is this is the month of luck. I hope everyone had a great St. Patrick's Day, by the way. And lucky liveaboards is our topic. So stories of triumph and maybe terror. We might get into that. So be ready for that. So the first question, again, if you guys can, try to keep it to just like a 1-minute answer. That'd be awesome. This is spectacular. Lucky to live this life moments. So what's the most jaw-dropping anchorage or setting you've ever woken up in? Cameo?
It was definitely a bay on the west side of Cuba. I'm trying to remember the bay name. I tried looking it up on Navionics right before this. But it was untouched, unblemished. There was nothing that had ever been there. There's no cities around. There was no lights. Our depth finder said we were anchored in 60 feet of water, but we could look down and literally see our anchor. It was like the opening scene of Jurassic Park, but in 8K because it was real life. It was just beautiful.
And it was really cool too because we showed up at night, so it's like you kind of don't really know what you're pulling into, and then to wake up the next morning and it's just like, oh. And again, like you could see 60 feet all the way down to the bottom where our anchor was. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's just the beautiful rock walls covered with vines, and like I say, it was definitely, you could tell that that thing had never seen a landscaper or any. It's just, it's what it's supposed to look like for beginning of history.
Like pure unspoiled nature, right? That is so cool. Fresh to salty?
I think for us, it was our very first year on the boat. We spent the first like 5 or 6 months just doing upgrades and stuff. So it was the first time we really left to go start this adventure. And we anchored at Cape Lookout, North Carolina. And there was nobody there but us. And we had the kids, we have 3 kids on the boat. We get in the dinghy and we're going to go ashore to check out the lighthouse or whatever. And all of a sudden there was like an entire pod of dolphins. And you know how they swim with your boat? But they were doing that with our dinghy. It was the most amazing thing. They were just there. Afterwards, I was like, why didn't I touch them? Because I could have. They were just there. It was probably the most awesome thing we've experienced, I think, since we've been on the boat. You think? Yeah.
That's really cool. Dolphins are always a magical moment, I think.
Yes,
no matter
I always
what,
get excited for them.
how. Yeah, such a
Yeah.
magical moment. Marigan?
Yeah, for us, the first kind of big trip we took on Marigan, we were living on her for a while, but my mom came to visit us in Washington, and we went up to the San Juan Islands, and we anchored in a place called Watmo Bay. It's really beautiful, just a little skinny pocket bay, and huge cliffs on all sides except the one entrance, which is really geologically unique for that area. There were a couple other boats in there, but it's just a really well-known, beautiful anchorage. And yeah, we could go to shore, hike around. It was really, really pretty. And then here in California, Julie was on night watch. I woke up to us coming into Emerald Bay in Catalina Island. That was pretty cool too. Yeah, it was just like the sunrise over the mainland and Catalina Island lighting up and the beautiful blue water. So it's a tie.
Sounds amazing. Anna?
Uh-oh.
You'd think I'd know how to work live yet, but I don't. This is a hard one. I'm stuck between 2. I would say 1, we were sailing the coast of the Dominican Republic, and we threw the anchor, and I think we threw it out like nighttime. So when we woke up, I like popped my head out from the aft cabin, and it was just like a mountain. Like it was so incredible. Like just the Dominican Republic, every place we anchored there was incredible. And then also sailing up in Maine, when we would go up to Acadia, like the mountains and the fog, it's just like so magical to be surrounded by the water that way, and then to like look all around you and be surrounded by mountains. It's just unbelievable.
We were just talking about Maine today. We're so excited to be up there. I think it's going to be
It's the best.
so beautiful.
We're going to be up there this summer too, Randy. So hopefully
Meet up. Okay, cool. I think for us, we were talking about a couple different places, but do you want to tell them about the Bahamas, the Cabbage Cay? What you saw?
Yeah, so in the berries, there's the beauty of the berries is not many people go there. So in the Berry Islands of the Bahamas, there are lots of little islands that are relatively untouched, and it's where nature can really take hold. And we were fortunate enough to anchor in this spot. And I remember, waking up in the morning and there was just really 1 or 2 little patches of sand, not much around us. And then of course, maybe 2 hours later, there was maybe a 10-foot tiger shark came blasting through and attacking this sea turtle, and the turtle was flying out of the water, and
the sea turtle got away.
The sea turtle got away, which was awesome. But I think it was a really good reminder of why we do it. So often we're stuck with other people around us and crowds and noise and chaos, and to actually have the opportunity to experience that nature, much like what Blaine was talking about in Cuba, It's pretty precious. But another one is the monkeys. And Randy will tell you about the monkeys.
That was in Georgia. South Carolina. Morgan Island is just this little, it's unfortunately research monkeys, but you wake up and there's just tons of monkeys along the shore. You can't go say hi to them. And Bella really wanted to, but just to wake up, you feel like you're in a whole different country with just these monkeys on shore doing their thing. So a couple cool moments. Okay, next question. Has nature ever we got Zen. Zen, do you want to do most beautiful anchorage or setting?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to say, and I have a photo of it, when we first started out down in Key West, there's a little anchorage kind of where they take people to go on mooring. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. They take you onto a lot of the tourists onto mooring balls, and we moored overnight and woke up to the most beautiful glass that I've ever seen, and just a random little fisherman out there fishing, and it was like the most beautiful sunrise. I was just like, okay, this is what we're doing. So it's very special.
Yeah, those moments are always so cool, and it's hard to, like, I'm always such a photographic person, or not, I'm not photographic, but I want to take pictures, so I'm always picture, video, and then my husband will yell at me, put the phone down and just take a mental snapshot of how beautiful this is. So yes. That sounds like one of those places. Cool. Okay, the next question is, has nature ever put on a show for you? A whale breach, bioluminescence, a perfect storm at a safe distance? What was one time you can remember that nature you were really like, wow, that's lucky to see that? Cameo?
You're going to love this because it's my answer. We were in Montserrat. We did a Q flag stop there, right in the volcano area, where you have to get permission to anchor. And so not very many people go there. And it was turtle mating season. And we ended up in the middle of a turtle group.
Don't get us banned, Blaine.
Hundreds
don't get us banned.
Of large, like the big kind of turtles. And it was just all around us. All you could hear was turtles. And it was just like they were putting on a show.
And the funny thing is, we were inside laying on the couch watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear like what sounded like paddling, and I'm like, and again, we're the only people in this anchorage. There's nothing around us, and I'm like, oh, stop, get the flashlight. I'm like, there's somebody paddling up to my boat, up to our boat, and I'm like, I really thought we were like gonna get boarded, or I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, grab the flashlight quick. And so he grabs a flashlight, we go running out there, and this is I mean, they're everywhere, all around our boat. And
there were more turtlebacks than there were wave crests.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were everywhere. And hours and hours.
Pretty special and unique experience. Fresh to salty?
For us, it was probably the weirdest of places. In Melbourne, Florida, we were anchored there, and our grandkids came for the very first time to the boat, and I don't know how we realized it was happening, but there was so much bioluminescence that we spent probably 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night just throwing crackers or chips or cereal, whatever we could, off the boat so that the fish would go after it, and then the water would just go crazy and light up. It was pretty cool.
And it went on for about 3 days.
Yeah.
So
every night anything we could possibly throw in the water to get the fish to come up, because it would just stir up the bioluminescence. It was so cool. It was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't had a chance to see bioluminescence, if you, as a viewer, if you're ever in Florida and you get a chance to go on one of those kayak tours or something, by all means, go to one of those tours. It is such a cool thing to see. Science, it's awesome. Marigan?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but my career has been in whale watching for the past 12 years, so I do have like a skewed standard on this, and I don't. Every interaction so far is like amazing. I would love to see sea turtle mating season, and the bioluminescence. There's never a moment where it's not just like top notch, beautiful. But so for me, it's kind of something like pretty, standard now cruising is when Peach first saw a dolphin and really had that recognition with her and looking at a school of like 500 common dolphins that were just bow riding. I think there's a video on it. Um, it was like I was crying tears of joy just to see my little dog just getting really something out of this interaction, like just as much as we were. We were really enjoying it. So for me, it's just a simple bow riding dolphin moment, but so sweet to see Peach enjoying it.
I wish my dog would connect with nature that well.
I mean, she was barking her head off, but I think it was a positive way. She's pretty vocal most of the time.
That's what Bella does. Peach!
She knows we're speaking about her.
So cute. Awesome. Anna?
Oh man, all right. Sorry, right now we're like ocean facing this and we're taking like 4-foot waves over the boat, so everything's anyways, I'll do my best to answer. Let me think. Okay, animal or best nature experience. I think it would be we were in the Ragged Islands in the Bahamas a few years ago, and this dolphin, we saw this dolphin come right up to our boat where we were anchored, and we realized it was a mom dolphin and her baby, and so we jumped into the water and she let us swim with her baby dolphin for like I swear she was like letting us babysit her dolphin for her. Like she's like, I need a nap. I'm so sorry guys. I need a break. And so we jumped in the water and she just kind of like floated there, and the little baby dolphin played around us all for a few hours, for like a half an hour. It was so amazing. My kids were younger then and they still talk about it to this day, that it was like the best thing they've ever seen it, like experienced in their life. Like swimming with a wild dolphin, I don't know, couldn't beat that.
That's an amazing experience, and how cool for kids too. Amazing. Corey?
I'm gonna figure this out one of these days. I'm gonna go off of what Blaine was talking about of nature taking its course. It was kind of hilarious, but it was really weird and amazing. We were in the Eleutheras, and we had one guest on our boat, and all of a sudden these dolphins came flying up behind us in this beautiful glass turquoise, the Bahamas Bay. And they jumped in the air and were getting it on. It was a trip, but it was like, whoa, something you just never see. There you go.
That's awesome. A lot of our stories have to do with dolphins. I'm sure the viewers are noticing, like, they're just so prevalent almost everywhere we go, and they're special no matter what they're doing. I think for us also has to do with dolphins. It was actually Steve's birthday. It was really cool. We were in this little cove in the Keys, and all of a sudden we hear this boom, 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 boom on the boat hull, and we're like, what is going on? So we rush out there, it's like coffee 30. We're rushing out there in the morning trying to figure out what's happening. There is a huge pod of dolphins chasing mullet all over, under the boat, around the boat, and just slamming. The fish were slamming into the boat, and it was complete chaos, but it was really cool to watch, and you could just see them. They almost looked like sharks. The fin was coming from so far. You could see it coming in the water, and then a swirl of mud, and then attack. So that was kind of a cool dolphin experience. And I think the biggest thing, we saw a few whales. They're pilot whales, almost our last night in the Bahamas when we're heading back. So anything else to add?
Well, the pilot whales were cool. Their heads sticking out and
they
looking
just
around.
go.
I always thought that the whales would be, kind of rolling through, and they were just sitting there. And there was maybe 30 of them. Kind of, you could see their eyes. They're looking around at you. And then the other nature thing has to do more with people than, wild creature. Well, I guess we're wild creatures, but we anchored just outside of Cape Canaveral for a launch, and to see the power, of that display of, this rocket launching and shaking the boat, and, it's crazy, but, even humans are animals. So it was pretty neat to see.
That was fun. Okay, let's see here. Next question. What's a moment you thought no one at home would ever believe this? Like pictures, or it didn't happen? What would they not believe?
I'm just ad-libbing this now. So it happened yesterday in St. John. We had a school of remora underneath our boat during our live, actually. But the school of remora, they're not little remora. These were 3 to 4 foot. And it's, people don't believe it if you didn't catch it on film, because we were arguing about what they were, because remoras don't get that big. So even I posted on a Florida fishing group, like, what are these fish? And the number one response is, and it's got like 8,000 views and people are fighting. And I mean, it's crazy, but people aren't believing that they're remoras. And the number one answer is AI. Nobody believes that that's real, because we have like 15 to 20 of these things come out from underneath our boat that are 3 to 4 feet long. And then I talked to a marine biologist, and she's like, if there's that many of that large size remoras in your area, there's something that they're cleaning and something bigger around. Don't get in the water.
What'd she say, like a tiger shark, or what else?
A hammerhead.
Oh, a hammerhead. Or...
I don't know what species live where. Like, but again, the remoras were so huge, and there was just schools of them. We got video of it, but people, if I told you it, like, because they're usually cleaning another bigger creature, but the creature that these things had to be cleaning was like a whale, but we were in an anchorage. So I don't know what we missed, but the remoras told us something was there. And that was just this eerie, like, I don't know what's under my boat, and I'm not going underneath there to find out.
Have you guys cleaned the bottom of your boat recently?
Yes. The first thing I did last night, we were dead tired. It was 4 a.m. I got down on the sugar scoop with a flashlight, and I'm looking at my bottom to see how dirty it is. But we just did the haul out a couple months ago. And we just checked our bottom before we went for this trip. So
It's not you. Got it.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I saw that video. That is cool. And it's on your TikTok, right?
Yeah.
So people can go see what you're talking about on the TikTok page. That's so crazy.
Yeah, but watching Florida fishermen who have been fishing their whole life fight about, that's a remora, but remora don't get those that big.
That's funny.
Like, and I'm having to come out here and measure my sugar scoop for people. Like, no, I'm like, this is the size of...
It's literally that big. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thanks, guys. Fresh to salty?
Is that better? All right. So we were anchored outside of Johnny Depp's Island, and there's a place called the Aquarium, and we were visiting with friends, and we all dived in the water, and we put some crackers in, and all of a sudden there were millions of fish. And we got some video of it, but you just can't comprehend how many fish were actually there.
Yeah.
And they absolutely surrounded us.
That's so cool. And did you catch it on a GoPro by any chance?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So then you can prove it happened. That's always fun. Anna?
I'm gonna let George tell this story because he remembered it, and then he said it, and I was like, yeah, that is right.
Well, I remember one night we were sailing north, like Hudson Canyon, and yeah, I know we've been talking about phosphorus, but the dolphins were out alongside the boat just glowing with phosphorus. And the same night, the wind completely died. The stars were so bright out there, you couldn't tell, they were reflecting off the water. It felt like we were in space almost, because you couldn't see the horizon from where the water and the sky were.
Yeah.
It was the most amazing night.
Yeah, we called that fire dolphin night because it literally, I felt like I was an avatar. Like the dolphins were just creating this wake around us, and it was incredible.
Dolphins for the win again. I love it. That's so cool. Zen wants to be skipped on this one. So that just, I wanted to give this reminder too, if anybody at any time has to go, we all understand we're living on boats. So we're going to be cognizant of that if anybody has to go anytime. Do you want to tell them the one nobody would believe this at home?
Yeah. This explanation is probably why she doesn't invite me to these things. No. So Randy wasn't a real big swimmer. Grew up in Colorado, didn't really spend a lot of time in water. And moving onto a boat's a terrifying thing for someone who's a little bit nervous about water. And when our trip over to the Bahamas a couple years ago, we stopped at I don't even know where it was, but we hiked into this blue hole, and we were, walked up to this cliff edge, and there was maybe a 25, 30-foot drop. And for someone who's terrified of water and heights and has all these odd issues, she just, it took a little while. There were some tears.
Curse words.
There was lots of curse words. But the fact that she, on her own, without me pushing her, she jumped off and fully immersed herself. It was very freeing to watch, and it was very powerful to be able to share that with her. But still to this day, if I were to, talk about it to her parents or loved ones or, family, or they'd be like, no, you're full of crap. She didn't do that. But the reality is the power of that moment was pretty darn special. So
yeah, it was awesome. My mom knew I almost failed swim class in college. So for her to hear that she didn't believe it at all. Thanks, Sandy. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. We're moving into lucky people and chance encounters. Has a stranger ever helped you out in a tight spot in a way that felt almost too good to be true? Cameo?
So I know a lot of you guys know the Melvins. So ours actually has to do with meeting the Melvins. Blaine, we were here in St. Martin. Blaine needed to go to the airport and fly out. And as a lot of you know, we have had major dinghy issues.
The world is tired of hearing about our dinghy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be over soon.
Our dinghy issues are never ending. So I'm always really reluctant to even drive the dinghy, especially if he's not going to be in the boat. So I had posted on No Foreign Land about, hey, looking for a ride to the dock. Can anybody help? And lo and behold, who comes to save the day is Jimbo Melvin. And that led to a fabulous friendship. He even brought Blaine back from the airport as well. We buddy boated with them for quite a while. They're the reason that we're even on TikTok. Neither Blaine or I even had TikTok added to our phone before we met Tiffany and Jimbo. And I think you have the rest.
And that's the full circle moment back to this, which is going to take a little bit longer than a minute. But meeting Tiffany and Jimbo convincing us to do TikTok, and us doing TikTok, and meeting Randy Joe. And meeting Randy Joe means we met Captain Matt, right? And as Randy Joe and Captain Matt both know, you were integral in getting me the Mantis dinghy. So now we're back in St. Martin almost a year later to pick up a dinghy, since we've been having dinghy problems since we started this, all because we met a guy who on No Foreign Land said, be there in 5. No other words than that. Didn't know who this guy was. Didn't know why I would let this guy know my wife's alone on the... Well, it turns out everybody, you know Jimbo. And once Jimbo starts talking, there's no stopping. But that's how we're here. We're in this roundtable. We're all in that because he said, yeah, I'll be there in 5.
Yeah.
They're so awesome. It's just that spark, like you said, just that interaction, exploded into a whole bunch of awesomeness.
Yeah, I've avoided Texas my whole life for my own personal reasons. That's its own story. But to fly into Texas, to stay at Captain Matt's house, to drive around Texas, to, it was all based off of just that one person saying, be there in 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very special. Every night we spend on live with you guys, dude, we did not do any social media before we met Jimbo. And now we have people we're checking in with daily. So
very special community. Yes. We love our TikTok sailors and our TikTok viewers too. Fresh to salty.
Yeah, so we were anchored near Sigby, just off Key West, and there was a big storm came in, and then there was a boat next to us who picked up and left in the middle of the night, and then came back a few hours later while this storm was going on, anchored, but as they anchored, they ripped our anchor out. So we're trying to grab hold of anything around that area, and it's all rock, and we're absolutely struggling. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, some guy on a dinghy turns up and says, "Do you want to save your boat?" And we're like, "Well, of course we do." And he was like, "Well, follow me." And he took us to this other anchorage spot and then told us to, put chain out. And I think we were in like 20 feet of water at the time. And so we put all of our chain out, and he said, "Is that all you've got?" And I'm like, "Well, I've got this road on the end of it." And we were fairly new at the time.
We didn't know how to anchor.
And he said, "Put it all out." And so we ended up putting about 150 foot of chain and then about another 200 of road just to stay put.
We didn't move from that spot for 2 months.
Yeah.
Man,
Never
so
saw
talk about
that again.
right time at the right place.
The waves were crashing way up over our boat. It was a very terrible storm. And this man was in his dinghy out taking people to anchor.
We never saw him again after that.
Wow. Poof. That's crazy. Guardian angel almost type.
Yes.
That's really cool. Megan?
Yeah, ours is going to tie into one of our most scariest, but it really was the strangers that helped us out of the scary situation where we capsized our dinghy with nothing, and somehow my phone stayed in my pocket. And the cascading events after that were a park ranger at the park we were at showed up and came and let us sit in his car, even though Peach was being annoying and freaking out, and we were both soaking wet to the bone. He drove us to a hotel, which was about 3-4 miles down the road on a highway, pitch black at night at this point. And the hotel front desk ladies, one of their names was Colleen, and we just kind of connected, and they were like, kind of like, "What's going on?" And the officer came in with us, and he was like, "I can vouch for them. They're legit. They're at this anchorage, and they had some trouble." Anyway, they gave us a bunch of stuff for free, like dinner for Peach, which was chicken and carrots and rice, bottle of wine, a room upgraded. I paid with Apple Pay on my phone $100 for like a deluxe room with a fireplace, and they let us use the laundry for free, gave us quarters. We didn't have our wallets, we didn't have anything. We thought we were just going to the beach for a potty run, and it turned into this whole saga of strangers helping us over the next 24 hours. And ultimately, how we got back to our boat was some bodyboarders that were out surfing these big waves, and we were like, we have to get back to our boat. We got back in our clothes with Peach in the dinghy, and all four of us swam the dinghy, passed over the waves, and we were sat back in, and a 5-minute ride back to Marigan. It was so funny. But oh, hi Ed. But it was a series of strangers that saved us. We would have been sleeping on the beach that night.
Yeah. And usually it's cruisers too, other fellow boaters too, but that's nice that just a general, either police officer or hotel, that is really cool.
It was just randos, and they were all super supportive, and they all like follow us on Instagram now. It's so sweet.
Cool. That's so awesome. Sailing together, Anna?
Oh, these questions are hard because we've lived aboard for 8 years now, and I feel like every one of it's hard for me to pick, especially with this one, because everything I know about the sailing community is that it's some of the most like generous, willing to help, put yourself out there even if it's like a tough situation people. And like we learned early on, like the rule is that if you can help, you do help, because if you're ever in the situation to need help, you hope that somebody will help you. And we've always found that somebody will help us. So, I mean, so many moments, but one really sticks out. We had just gotten the Sarah G. We salvaged her in March of 2020, and we bought her March 14th, and the country completely shut down March 17th from COVID. And we weren't allowed on land. We weren't allowed to use our cards on land, and we had just bought a shipwreck. So, and so we were making do with what we had, and we finally had been able to leave Man o' War, where we got the boat, and we were trying to cross over to the Gulf Stream. Trying to cross over to the Gulf Stream, and we didn't know that one of our fuel tanks had been full of like sediment. So our engine died when we were on the Bahama Bank, and we could not get it started because we didn't have clean fuel. Like there was too much sediment in our fuel tank. So just like a random string of events happened. We had met a guy a year earlier who had helped somebody who lost their anchor, and he was still in touch with that person, and that person also like happened to be in the area that we were in. So her and her husband came on their sailboat, and they sailed us 5 gallons of diesel fuel so that we could limp our way. You know, we had never met these people. It was COVID time. We had been stuck out on the Bahama Bank for like 2.5 days.
And we were towing our old boat.
We were towing our old sailboat. Yep, that's right. Anyways, a totally ridiculous situation that I've found myself in many times in some way or another. But like the goodness of the sailing community will like never cease to amaze me. And it's like that string that attached us. Like we met somebody, he helped somebody, and so that person helped us. And it's just like a really, really cool part of this community. And we'll always try to return the favor if we can, because we're grateful for those people for sure.
Especially in the Bahamas. I've not that, you know, Florida's any different or other places, Virgin Islands, but especially in the Bahamas. It's such a tight-knit community. There was another boater that was in our Sailors Roundtable. I won't mention who they are, but unfortunately, you know, had run aground and got washed ashore. And through the community of the Bahamas, they ended up helping quite a bit just with who they know and what they can do. So
the locals in the Bahamas too, they'll take their shirt off their back to help anyone here too. It's amazing. So yeah,
for sure. Corey at Zen says it's a little rough out there, so we're going to skip her again this round, I think. So, but if she wants to jump in, she can. Okay, so for us, we're noticing that it's more of just essentially general kindness than the tight spot. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have been in some tight spots before, but most of the time it's just a general kindness. So I'll let Steve talk about the most recent one.
We were having also dinghy issues, notoriously small engine stuff. And we were traveling down the Keys, and through just some random connections, linked up with a guy somewhere, I don't remember where.
Islamorada, maybe?
Yeah.
Key Largo, I don't know.
And it was nice because he actually had a dock that wasn't well known, that was in a protected area near a fairly popular anchorage. And, you know, for those that have spent time in the Keys know that sometimes it's difficult to find places to come ashore or, you know, things to do. It's an interesting subculture down there. But we found this guy, and we're able to row the dinghy into shore, and this mechanic, small engine mechanic, came out and was able to help us troubleshoot and get back underway. So it's, you know, again, it's the small kindness, and, you know, 5 o'clock in the rain after he's been working all day, he decides essentially for what amounted to a cold beer or two to come give us a hand. So that sort of thing is pretty precious.
Yeah. Next question is, what's the luckiest piece of advice you ever received from another sailor, and did you listen?
We were really brand new. We were sailing up to, we're sailing down from Bradenton, Florida to Fort Myers. That's where they are. and they've been on the round table before, but it's the sailing hookers. And Brian was just talking to me one day, I think it was at a bar probably, and he just says, he's like, your boat can handle more than you can. He's like, so anytime you're in a situation, just remember your boat can handle more than you can. So a year later, when we were in Hurricane Ernesto and we were stuck, our boat was stuck, and I was at the helm and I had to drive for 7 hours riding the waves out. And I'm just worried that my boat's destroyed, my family, everything else is like this. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to save our lives. And I was like almost just like a tick in my head that I just kept hearing Brian say, your boat can handle more than you can. You just got to outlast the boat. You just got to outlast the boat. And we made it through the storm, and obviously we're still on the boat. But if I had ever just stopped on the throttles, our boat would be gone. We would be here. But it was because Brian was in my head saying your boat can handle more than you. And so just to handle one more second more than I thought I could handle was.
And he ended up going again, like 7 hours of nonstop forward and back driving the boat in a slip, spiderwebbed. So that was a crazy experience.
It's a great piece of advice right there for sure.
Yeah.
Fresh to salty? You're on mute, girl. Can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
Okay, say better. I think the best piece of advice anybody's ever gave us, and we do it to this day, is we don't even consider leaving until we check the Cape Index. We haven't been in a really bad storm since we started doing that. And we used to go in a lot of bad storms.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we started doing that finally in the Bahamas our first year. And my husband's usually better at it than I am, but that's a good one for sure.
Well, it took us 3 years before that advice came around.
Nobody told us that. We didn't know. And so, yeah, we've been in a lot of bad storms.
So everyone else, take note. Cape Index. There you go. Colleen?
I mean, it's kind of the classic, like, sorry about that. Kind of the classic, just follow your gut, your instincts. If it feels wrong, it is. So, for example, we're in a marina here in San Diego, but we were at an anchorage last month, and there was a gale warning storm that we felt really prepared for, had a ton of chain out, felt ready to take on. And it kind of was just the beginning of it, and it was nighttime. Julie was about to take Peach to shore just to do one more potty before we were hunkered down for like 12 hours at least. And she probably got 50 feet, 100 feet away from the boat and said, no, it's not going to happen. So just turned right around, came right back. Everybody got back on the boat. And thank God, because the other boats were starting to drag, and it was just picking up really, really fast. So, just if it feels wrong, it probably is. And I've worked in boating, like I said, for over a decade, so that has been a running theme throughout my career.
And it's okay to say no. You don't have to go, Hopefully people don't have to go do that. Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of cruising, is that if you can be flexible and not take every plan so seriously, not that any of you guys do, because we've all been through that at this point, but like that is for new cruisers, especially like our example right now of being kind of stuck in San Diego. This wasn't part of our plan, but we're making the most of it and we're having a good time doing it. So being flexible and listening to what your instincts are saying is probably right.
Yeah, that's what matters, that you guys are making the most of it. That's awesome. Anna?
A couple popped into my head. I think the one that first popped into my head was a lesson we learned the hard way our first year sailing, which is we were trying to get to Puerto Rico and we just couldn't because the trade winds had us pinned on Long Island in the Bahamas, and we were coming at the islands the wrong way, and we weren't able to make it to a friend who was meeting us down there, and somebody told us yeah, you're a sailor. You can tell me when or you can tell me where, but you can't tell me both. And that's gotten us out of a lot of binds now because, yeah, I'm like, I wish I could, but like if the weather says no, so does my boat. And then also, you know, George said, Captain Ron, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. And that's true, you know, and not just the scary stuff, but the good stuff too. Life happens when you're living it. So you have to go out there. I think a lot of people have a lot of fear around pulling the plug on things. And I get it, you know, new things are scary, but like, I don't know, the only way you're going to learn in so many cases is through experience. No classes would have ever prepared me for a lot of the stuff that we've had to deal with. And, you know, it really, this whole weird thing that we're all deciding to do, living on a boat, teaches you so much to just go with the flow, you know, just go with the flow. So, yeah.
Which is it's kind of hard for us A-type personalities once in a while. Like I had to be very controlled,
I want to be in control of the weather, but the weather laughs at me when I try. So
it's a complete opposite. Yeah, Corey, do you want in on this one, ma'am?
I can do it.
Cool.
Jeff just reminded me of one back our first year. We went to the Avacos, and then we went to the Eleutheras, and then we went down through the chain of the Bahamas. That was our first kind of big trip. And we got to the bottom of the Avacos, and we were in, what harbor, Jeff? Little Harbor. And there's that Pete's restaurant down there. Kind of a cool little spot, but it's a little hideaway before you cross to the Eleutheras. And that crossing can be a little hairy, a little sporty. And I was scared. And I'm like, Jeff, we can't go. He's like, well, we could. We're like, we need to go now or we're not going, right? Because the weather. And we've got 4 to 5 foot seas. And this guy comes getting off his mooring ball. So I radio him. I go, let's go ask him. Let's just go ask him. And he's like, he looks at me and he's like, that boat right there, points at my boat. He goes, is built for those waves that are out there right now. And because I'm thinking 2 to 3 foot waves is huge. And I looked at Jeff. I'm like, you make the decision. Because usually I'm kind of a control freak, so I kind of have I'm that type A girl too. So he says, okay, well, it was a bucking Bronco, but we made it. We were fine. We didn't get seasick. Nothing broke. You know, maybe a cup flew out of the sink. But we made it, and now I'm like, we can do that. We can do 3 foot seas. We can do 5 foot seas. Now, when it gets to 6, 7, 8 foot seas, I'm out. I mean, enough to do it, right? But, you know, I can take a little bit more sport, and I know my boat can handle it. So I learned that, and I remember that comment over and over again over the years. I'm still going to make a judgment call on waves. But, you know, it can be done, and it can be comfortable or it can be sporty, but that's kind of one thing that's really stuck with us.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know unless you go, which can help build confidence so that you will go in higher seas and more wind and that sort of thing. I know that's worked for us too. So let's see, for our answer, I think we've listened to the boat, we've listened to the weather mostly. You know, we have received quite a bit of advice from sailors, but one in particular is a sailing mentor who's, been with us and helping us for over 6 years. We looked at potentially buying his boat. And even though we said, you know, thank you, but no thank you, essentially to his boat, he continued to email us and give us advice and talk to us about books we should read and invited us to his house to talk boating and has helped make us things and helped with electric. And so he's just been, I would say a sailing mentor is a really important person to have too. So he's been our one piece of advice over and over and over and over again, our sailing mentor. So that was awesome. Let's see here. Let me just walk through this one real quick. What are the odds? We're going to skip into lucky preparation versus pure luck. So is there something you almost didn't bring aboard that ended up saving the day? Cameo?
Oh, I wasn't ready for that question.
I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
You want to go grab the heat gun?
Oh.
So for For those that don't know, I love
Pew,
barbecue, and we put on a big barbecue on our boat.
Pew pew.
And I have a thermal temp reader so that I can check my meat. Let's try and say this the right way. So I can check the temperature of my barbecue. But what it also I found out is on our particular model of boat, our particular Yanmar motor does not come with heat sensors. The gauges up there have the indicator for over temp, but there's no sensor on our boat. I did not know that. And so my hourly checks when we're underway under the bilge is to check engine temps. And we had our engine overheat and catch fire, but the amount of time between when it overheated and the only reason it caught fire was because moorings put on non-marine high temp paint on the engine to make it look good, of course. So it was just the paint melting off. But the only reason why we didn't lose that engine and it was recoverable was because I just checked the heat within 45 minutes with the heat gun. And I thought this was a stupid toy to bring just for barbecuing. I didn't think that there would be any use for it. And now it's used every passage, every hour on the hour.
Very important tool to have on a boat, for sure. Fresh to salty?
I don't feel like there's anything that we brought that say that it was kind of more the opposite. We tried to bring a lot of stuff. And in the end of the day, we had a storage locker and we just
filled it.
We just took everything out of the locker and didn't look at it and put it in the trash and moved on.
Us too. Colleen?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same. You know, we sent some stuff to family and some artwork that we didn't want to get rid of, but we're still trying to pare down things on the boat. The best piece of gear that we have that came with the boat is a water maker that can be used electrically and manually. Could really save the day someday.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anna?
George is the spare parts king. And it used to just irritate the daylights out of me because I'd be like, why do we need that? And I can't even tell you how many times we've been in situations, like actually just last week, I swear things only break in the Bahamas too. Like if I'm in Florida and a West Marine is a mile away from me, nothing is gonna break. But the second that I'm in the Bahamas, it's like things just start exploding. And so like actually, our inverter like exploded a couple days ago and I was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? George is like, I got another one in the lazarette, don't you worry. Or there was a time that we were offshore and was it our generator? I don't know, one of our engines, we have like we have a built-in main engine and a built-in generator, and the alternator went on it. And not only did George have a backup alternator, but he was like, oh, I can just swap this one off the main, so he's the spare part king and I no longer fight him on it. I'm just like, absolutely, yes, we should bring a third inverter on this trip. I think that's a great idea. So
We'll just put it under the kids' beds or something. You can find somewhere to stash it. Now, staying organized, that's the hard part, is trying to find where you stash it.
Nobody's allowed on my boat. People ask for a boat tour. I say, my friends, you can't have one.
Sorry.
There are stuffed animals and boat parts everywhere.
Yeah. Corey?
Okay, we have a couple. So Jeff just told me, there's Jeff, say hi.
Hi.
He just told me that he bought at Harbor Freight a box of security bits. I have no idea what it is.
To get those little screws out when you can't get them, they have that little dot in the screw that the company never want you to take out. Those little bits have saved our life to get those things open, to get corroded wires fixed. Without them, you can't get a bit in it, you can't get an Allen wrench in them, and they're $10. I threw them in the toolbox in a bag, and this year we've used them twice already.
There you go. He actually talked on social media. The other thing that I would say is we had the plunger toilets, And on our side, we switched it out with a Dometic freshwater toilet, and I love it. And it was my birthday present.
Hey, the little things that bring us joy, right? Like a new toilet. I love it. I love it. Let's see. For us, I'm going to let Steve talk about what we, probably one of those things that I was like, do we really need this on the boat? I'll let him talk about what he brought.
Yeah, and still to this day, do we really need this on the boat is constantly asked. And it's just a matter of time before she realizes my answer is correct.
But it's most of my stuff too. Do we really need this?
Yeah, it's true. We'll talk about that later. But the one thing was a longboard, skateboard, but a longboard. We brought it. I have no idea why. I think we brought it because our son was interested, but he ended up, once we got on a boat, didn't care anymore. But the benefit of it was not that it saved any great, trouble, but we had a fuel leak and needed a specific O-ring for an injector pump that was 5 or 8 miles away from an anchorage. And instead of walking, I was able to skate, and it kind of took me back to the freedom that sailing's supposed to be instead of the misery of fixing things every day. So even though I wasn't sailing on the skateboard, I'm glad we have it. And unfortunately now it is not on the boat. So who knows what the next adventure will be.
I don't know if Cody has it, or it might be in storage now. That storage unit, yeah. But definitely came in handy because we can't just, most of the Ubers and Lyfts in the Keys were $50. So there was no way we could continue to get Ubers, and the skateboard just came in so handy. So that was the one thing we were really lucky to have. Okay, we're going to skip down to the big lucky to be alive moments. What's the scariest situation you've ever found yourself in on the water, and what saved you? Cameo?
I was going to say.
You keep skipping questions. Scariest on the water. I mean, I'm guessing it's still the Hurricane Ernesto that he talked about before, and just being able to hear Brian say that the boat can handle more than we can. Because at one point, like I said, we were spider webbed. And for anybody who doesn't know what that means, is our boat is here and there's docks on either side, and you have ropes going out to suspend you in between the two docks. So it's not like we could just get off the boat.
We could on one side.
But I got so freaked out that I essentially went inside and started putting on my shoes like, oh, I'm done. I'm getting out of here. And then it was like, I had to laugh at myself because it was like, where are you going to go? It's not like you could actually get off the boat right now. But that was definitely the scariest, and just taking it minute by minute, and one forward engine pull to a backwards, and just making it through the night.
And we had to do that because one whole side of our spider web came undone. So our entire right, or what Randy Joe would call star chore or star cord or something like that, our entire right side of the boat, all the lines snapped. So the cleats themselves snapped, and the sound of a cleat whistling through the air as it crashes through a whole line of MarineMax boats is something I'll never forget. So I can't cut, because the waves are coming every 7 seconds. I can't cut all the lines on this side and just drive out of the marina.
In 7 seconds.
In 7 seconds. So I'm going to have to be up at the helm, and I'm not going to have my wife come out from safety and be like, hey, you want to machete those rope? It was... So
in a hurricane.
It was just that keeping that boat moving forward so that it didn't crash back into the wall because the one side was missing.
Crazy. And they're called lines, Blaine, not ropes.
I don't have any lines on my boat. I mean, it's pretty round.
Just kidding. Fresh to salty?
For us, it was our first year. Our first year was the craziest. We took our first trip to the Bahamas. Halfway across in the middle of the Gulf Stream, found out that we had diesel bug because we didn't have an engine. And we happened to have a friend on the boat. Him and our son sailed the boat with no navigation gear because without the engine, we were burning through the electric. Anyway, we got it all fixed. We thought, get to Bimini, anchor. Stephen goes ashore, checks us all in, comes back on the boat. We decided it's been a really rough night. We're going to go into Brown's Marina.
And there's 4-foot waves, and our buddy boat, as they were coming back, his wife actually fell in the water.
Yes.
So it was still pretty
They were
rough.
getting back on their boat after checking in, and the waves were so big it knocked her off the dinghy, and she was hanging off the side of the boat. It was crazy. So we decided we're going to go into the marina because we just need to like tie up and get our bearings because it's been so rough. And as we're going in to the marina, the engine cut out again, and the waves pushed us onto a reef. And so our boat was laying on its side on a reef. We tried everything we could to get off of it, try to use our dinghy to get off of it, to the point that I just said to the kids, you need to get your ditch bags because I'm pretty sure we're done. This is over with. And to this day, I don't know if it was our buddy boat because they were in the marina, some friends of ours, and they could see us if they sent the guy out or if the guy just came out, because we were not smart enough to pick up the phone and call for our unlimited towing on Towboat US. So the guy came and towed us off, and he took us into the marina, and we didn't have just a little scrape paint. That's all the damage we had. No damage to the boat. Took us a day to fix the diesel bug, and we were done. But in that moment, I was convinced. I had the kids had their life jackets on. We had they all had their school laptops in their ditch bag, and I thought we were done. I thought we were over with that day.
Very scary, but live to tell the tale.
We had really no damage at
That's
all from
great.
the boat. It was crazy.
Definitely lucky. Colleen?
Yeah, I kind of told the one where I think we were probably more in physical danger, learning about beach landings and how to do that safely for the future. But another one that was really scary for boat damage that was extremely lucky for us. We were just almost to San Francisco on our way down. Just like everybody else, our first year has been obviously crazy. But we had kind of reconfigured our solar panels, and we were just trying to sail the rest of the way down. We didn't want to, egotistically like turn the engine on for like our last night on this huge journey we're doing. And we kind of skirted out a little bit offshore just to catch kind of the edge of this windstorm that had, 40 knot gusts. And any new sailors out there, 40 is not double 20. It's an exponential kind of thing. So, 20 knots of wind is great sailing on our boat, and 40 is really, really, really scary. Our entire solar panel array ripped off the top of our Bimini, but here's the lucky part. It was held on by the cord that attaches it to the batteries. I'm not even kidding. Not me, but we pulled it all up out of the water, and everything was intact. A few bent screws. It was crazy how much we didn't lose on that. And we fixed it in a day, the next day when we got to anchor. It was crazy. But yeah, learned a big lesson about wind speed and what we can handle. And now we're going to rivet all those set screws instead of having set screws. So that's a big project coming up here in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
More lessons learned for sure. Anna?
Oh boy. There's been so many oh crap moments, to be honest, but like I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think George and I were just chatting about it. Ours are different. Mine was, we were crossing the Gulf Stream, and even though it was like perfect sailing conditions, perfect besides the thunderstorms, we got a squall come by, and we were like, oh man, we were getting hammered by like thunder, lightning, waves, just feeling like, I remember like sticking my head up in the aft cabin and out of the aft cabin and looking at the ocean and being like, I feel like I'm in that scene from The Little Mermaid when like Prince Eric's ship goes down, you know what I mean? I was like, this is it, guys. Like, it's fine, but this is it, and it was a good run. Of course, George is like, just go downstairs and lay down. Heave to, we're gonna be fine. And I'm like panicking. And you know, all of these moments though, like that we've been in. I mean, we were just on Cape Cod a few months ago in a freaking blizzard, like a literal blizzard. It was snowing and blowing 40 knots of wind, and we were trying to get back to our boat on our dinghy, and it was blizzarding out. So, but I think the only thing that kind of just saves you in those moments is like acceptance of what's going on and knowing that, yeah, you're a lot more capable of dealing with things than I think you are, or at least that's how I feel. Like I think my tolerance for dealing with stuff is a lot lower than it actually is. And also, like, I live on my boat full time. Sorry, we're anchoring. So I live on my boat full time. So like I probably have, let's say, 15 stories that I could regale everyone with, because everybody always wants to hear the horror stories. They love the scary stuff, you know, which is me too. But I've lived aboard for 8 years. You know, if I, in 365 days times 8, whatever that math is, if I have 20 oh crap moments, I feel like my statistics are pretty good. So, you know, I don't know. It's just like, again, learning to just go with it and knowing that your boat is a lot more, like it brings me a lot of comfort to know that my boat can handle 10 times what I can handle. So, anyway.
In the boat we trust, right? Corey?
So this year it just happened, and I think it put a sour start to my season. We went straight from Key West to Cayman Brac, which is one of the sister islands of Grand Cayman. And we were going to spend a month scuba diving in Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. So we went in, checked in, took the mooring ball that security told us to take, and it was a really nice mooring ball, set up nice. Took our dinghy to shore, got all checked in, and you cannot anchor in the Caymans. Oh, Bob, sorry. And they said, yeah, that mooring ball you guys are on right now is a really good mooring ball. You can, if you want to come back to it and stay anytime you want, do it. Perfect for your size of boat. So we're like, okay. So that night, you know, we walked around, got off the boat after a 6-day passage, came back the second night, we were like, let's just stay here. We're tired, relaxed, and went to sleep. Slowly the wind picked up, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, the mooring ball rope broke inside the mooring ball. Do not ask me why Jeff was awake, but he was awake. And he's like, all of a sudden the boat stopped moving. And he's like, and I heard the engine started. I got up, was going to the bathroom. He goes, Corey, get up now. And I mean now. And I'm like, I'm peeing. It's 2 a.m. What the heck? So I got up. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I don't know where we are, but we're moving and we're not on the mooring ball anymore. I'm like, oh, cuss words. Okay, I'm awake. And I jumped up to the helm. He handed me the iPad with coordinates. He's like, when I tell you to put this boat in reverse, you slam it in reverse. And I slammed that boat in reverse. We had salt water through the back of the boat. Once we looked at our navionics, we were 78 feet from the rocks and ended up motoring until daylight to go find another mooring ball. We radioed them, said, hey, we need, we're going to motor around, and they sent us to a big mooring ball. We grabbed it, and we're sitting there in 5-foot waves on a mooring ball. And I'm like, there's no way we're taking our dinghy in there to check out, because and I'm like, we're leaving. I'm not staying in these islands. The wind, there's no protection here. I'm not spending a month here in January, and I'm freaking out and tired. So I go, but you have to check out physically in those islands because you cross international waters to go to Grand Cayman. And they gave us special clearance not to do that because it was unsafe. But here's the lesson learned. Set your anchor alarm when you're on a mooring ball, period. Because we did not have it set. And Jeff, by some power, was awake. And we did not hit the rocks. But I I'm an anchor alarm freak now. So that was the scariest moment. And holy moly, I learned a lesson. We both
still
did.
have the end of it.
And we still have the end of we have the whole painter from that morning. Because we couldn't go give it back.
Except multiple anchor alarms. We've learned that lesson before.
Yes, exactly.
Multiple's
Yep.
usually a good way to go.
That was, I don't like mooring balls anymore.
No, I know. They can be scary. Quick one for us was recently, actually, we were coming back down south from South Carolina, and we had a really good anchorage near Georgetown, and it was pretty calm night. We had a good wind, good breeze to keep the boat cooler at night, and then put the sails up first thing in the morning, right on anchor, started heading out the inlet, and I started not feeling so good. I had just gotten over the C word, pandemic C word, so I was just getting over that and still a little sick. And once we got to the inlet,
yeah, we the wind predictions were, 15 gusting to 18, and it was going to be on the beam as we were coming out the inlet, which isn't that big of a deal at that. We can have full sail up. And as soon as we turned and started to go out the inlet, this Wina Bay inlet has rock jetties on both sides, and it's only about maybe 250 feet wide. And it was probably 3 to 4 foot roller, short period, maybe 2-3 seconds, and 30 knots sustained. And we had just had the rig redone, and the starboard shroud looked like a wet noodle because we were just loading it so much with this wind, and we couldn't turn into the wind to reduce sail, and we couldn't turn downwind to run with it because of the rocks. So we were kind of stuck there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes as we powered through, and it was super exciting, and I'm glad we didn't die.
as a first mate, I was over at the port side of Blaine of the boat, hurling, and so I was not very helpful, and Bella was very nervous about me, so that was a lot of fun. That was a very scary moment. So just real quick, we're gonna have one more question. If anybody has to go, by all means, you can zip out if you need to. We're gonna do one more question and then Q&A. So if anybody has any questions in the chat while our sailors are answering this next question, I will write down the questions, and then that's a free for all. Anybody can answer that. Somebody chime in? No? Okay. So the last question is there a moment when you made a split-second decision that, looking back, you realize kept you safe? It may or may not be this. You could say, I've already mentioned this, but maybe there's another moment where it was a split-second decision and it was pretty lucky decision for you. Cameo?
We were anchored off of Venice, Florida. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, yeah.
And the way the waves were hitting on our bridle, it was just pulling and yanking and pulling and yanking. And then I made the decision, like, I don't like this anchorage. I'd much rather go out and continue sailing down towards Key West, because the wind, it was a storm, but the storm was heading the way we were going. But we just didn't want to, we were new. We were told you don't sail in a storm. So we anchored down, but it was just beating on the front of our boat and everything sounded horrible. And so I raised the anchor, and right as I was raising the anchor, the shackle that holds the bridle to our anchor snapped. So that next tug would have just been straight on our windlass. It still destroyed most of our bridle. Shout out to Manus Marine, just got a new one. I'm sorry. But we just, in that split second, I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. We were out. And honestly, I don't even think we put up sails or really turned on the engines. We just let the storm carry us halfway down to Key West.
Yeah, it's kind of like you go with your gut instinct as well. You're like, yep, we're doing this.
It didn't feel like it normally does when you're Like our anchor was dug in good, but it was snapping the bridle shackles on the side of the boat.
Gosh.
And again, middle of the night, we're both just waking up going, what the heck is going on? And it was just one of those split-second decisions. And luckily, I do feel very fortunate. I feel like Blaine and I do have really good communication, especially when it is in
Yeah, because you know what your left is and you know what your right is.
you know, in those late night, you're just waking up, you know, and I feel like we can communicate really well and make things happen really quickly when we need to.
Yep. I think being out here on boats, everybody has to be good team.
Yeah.
Everyone seems
We
like
also
they're-
found a hack for marriage savers. You know, people wear those headphones.
Yes.
We just last night, because we had to anchor in the dark, which you never come into a new anchorage in the dark, but we've been here before. But I actually just called her on my phone while she was at the helm and had my Bluetooth headphones in. And that way I could be shining the flashlight and saying, hey, there's a boat to our left, there's a boat to our right. And
not pay like $700 for marriage savers.
Right. But I also knew we didn't want to be like yelling back and forth in the middle of the night, waking everybody up either.
When you can't hear anything anyways. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Fresh and salty?
Okay, so this is going to go way back before we ever bought this boat. We were on our first sailboat on a lake in Oklahoma, learning to sail. We didn't know what we were doing. We also at that time fostered, and we had a lot of kids. I think we had 6 or 7 kids at the time. The youngest one was supposed to be potty training, so we were supposed to be diaper free. But for some reason that weekend, I brought his pull-ups. And I don't know why, because I was adamant we were not doing pull-ups anymore. We get the boat out. We had a great day, and then it was time to head back. And all of a sudden, I looked down into the cockpit to say something to the kids, and the kids are all sitting down there ankle deep in water. And I'm like, nobody, none of you, like almost teenagers at the time, thought to say, hey, Mom, there's water in the boat? So we found there were 2 pipes that were supposed to drain the cockpit that had basically, one had broken and one had just came off, and the back of the boat was just flooding water straight in to the boat. And it was, we were using buckets and the bilge pump and everything, and we weren't getting it out. And Steven, I just gave him 2 pull-ups, and he shoved 1 in each hole. And immediately we were able to start making progress getting the water out of the boat. But I don't know why I brought pull-ups, because we were supposed to be done, but I brought them anyway. And we kept pull-ups on that boat until the day we sold it.
And do you still have pull-ups on the boat or some other thing that'll help stop a leak?
Yes, we have other things that will help. Yes.
That's so crazy, man. Colleen?
Honestly, we have been, again, this goes with the theme, we've been so lucky where our split-second decisions have been multiple seconds long cruising. And I don't think I should get into some of the split-second decisions I've made in my whale-watching career, but not good look for the some of the places I've worked, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, just, again, trusting your instincts, and if it feels wrong, do not do it. Best advice.
Yep, solid advice for sure. Anna?
This is like the only one that popped into my head. We were anchored in Georgetown in the Exumas, and we also have a rule that even like it's one of our like sayings, because we love to buddy boat with people, but everybody's like boat is different, and what everybody is comfortable with is different. So, even when you're sailing together, you have to sail alone. Like we make our decisions for the comfortability of everybody on our boat. And also we have a bigger boat than other people. So anyways, all of that to say, like, there's been times where we've been buddy boating with people and they're like, well, we're going to go over here. And we're like, well, that doesn't work for us, but we'll see you at the next island kind of thing. And, I guess this wasn't even really a decision, but it was just really lucky that we were supposed to be anchored with these people, and we ended up leaving because they wanted to wait for a weather window, and we were like, well, we think we have one, so we left. And we heard the next day that not the 2 boats that we were buddy boating with, but a boat next to them got plowed by a mail barge. and like it would have been just exactly where we were anchored, you know? So that wasn't like a split decision as far as like, you know, we didn't do anything there. That was all, you know, the powers that be. But like, you know, if we had decided to stay there with them and not take that weather window, like that could have been our boat. So
Yeah, scary. All things work out for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason, for sure. Corey?
As we've been sailing, and I'm going to try and talk quieter because I forget that I yell whenever I'm on the phone. Jeff made a split decision back before we took off. We had the boat parked outside of our house in Florida, and we, like I said earlier, I don't know if I said that, maybe I said that in my live this morning, we got hit by Hurricane Ian, and we actually rode out Ian on Zen, and Jeff took screws and screwed our lines into our pylons, and he doesn't even know why he did it. But by the time Ian rose and all the water rose, the ropes, the lines would have been off of our pylons. So that was a split decision that he's like, I'm just going to take screws and screw those lines right into the pylons for us. And it saved the day, you know, because you can loosen them from the boat as the water rises, but once it comes off of there. The other thing he did on that is he threw out an anchor out front in the middle of the canal and out back in the middle of the canal. So that was kind of one of the ones that stands out for us.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Let's see. For us was really recent. We were headed back to Stewart, and we had called ahead to the bridge tender here, and Anna's very familiar with this bridge. It's technically 3 bridges, and one is high enough for just about every mast. I believe it's probably a 65-foot bridge. So that one's clear. Now, right after that, so let's back up. That bridge also has a very narrow waterway through it and a very swift current that either comes in or out. So we've got the bridge, we've got the fenders that lead you in, we've got the current and the wind coming at us too. So bridge number 1 was okay. The third bridge was ready for us. That's the road bridge. So the lady had already opened the bridge. It's ready for us. The only issue was the middle bridge is a 100-year-old train bridge. I love Anna's face is like, no, it's a 100-year-old train bridge. And this thing has been getting a lot of exercise recently because of the bright line that comes through Stewart at 80 miles an hour, like 30 times a day. So the bridge goes up, down, up, down, up, down like this all day. It's got kind of its own schedule. So we were cleared with the road bridge. We got through the tall bridge just fine. The train bridge had already gone down in front of us and no train. Okay. So the train bridge lifts up. We're like, okay, we're clear to go. We've got this. Let's go. I believe the current was coming behind us. The wind was coming in front of us. We're fighting 2 different things here. So we get to the train bridge. We were at like 1 minute out, and it says the train bridge is preparing to lower. And we're like, oh my God, like I'm freaking out. He's freaking out. We don't really know what to do. So the road bridge lady, the tender, radios to us and says, are you going to make it? And we're like, we think so. It says we're 1 minute out from this bridge, and the bridge, train bridge was telling us we have 3 minutes left to go. So we've got the pedal to the metal as much as we can go with our boat that goes about 6 miles per hour. That's it, full throttle. So we're going as fast as we can. Well, the bridge has 1 minute until it lowers. So we get really close to the train bridge, and all of a sudden my husband says, no, we're not doing it. And he slams in reverse.
Well,
Then
the alarm went off.
the alarm for the bridge went off saying it was going to lower. So we stopped. We were going to stop and turn around. Then the current kept pushing us. So then we both decide, like, we're just going to go. Let's just go. So last second decision, we slam it back into forward. We go through the bridge, and luckily the bridge did not close until we got through. So that last second, I think if we would have stopped and tried to reverse more and spin around, the current would have slammed us into the train bridge, and that would have been a lot worse than potentially getting our mast to scrape the train bridge. So that was a little sketchy. That was the most recent last second decision that we had. And
I was like, I hate that set of bridges.
It's horrible. It's one of the worst. And shameless plug, you can go see a video of it on my page. Sorry, we did. I was videotaping. I knew that would be a good scary video. So
they had a big barge in that bridge when we went through it. We could barely fit our boat through.
Yeah.
yeah, and if any boat, there's been a lot of boats that have hit it also, and so they have to stop complete traffic, analyze the bridge. It's horrible. So they've really got some work to do there. But I'm going to if anybody needs to pop out, that's fine. We do have one question I noticed from Ingrid. She asked, and anybody can chime in with this. She asked, has anyone on the panel encountered being surrounded by sharks or maybe a shark incident? Anyone?
Well, yeah, sharks are just I think that's in like my top 2 most asked questions, I would say, like pirates and sharks. And I think it's charming. I do. I think it's, but first of all, I grew up on Cape Cod, so I've only ever swam in shark infested water. So I guess maybe I'm not the right person to ask about it. But yeah, sharks are a part of living on a boat, especially if you're in where we sailed. The Bahamas is huge shark territory. But yeah, I mean, George loves to spearfish, and one time we were all in the water and he had just nailed a really big grouper, and I'm above him and he's coming up with the grouper, and then in between us goes a 14-foot shark. And yeah, I don't think either of us had ever gotten out of the water faster. It was a good dinner, but it was scary.
Very nice. Anyone else? Shark stories?
So when you anchor at Staniel Cay in big majors, you've always got nurse sharks surrounding the boat.
Lots of them.
Yeah, there's always lots of them.
And nurse sharks to me feel almost like a big catfish, right? They're they're not really going to bite you unless provoked, and they're the nicest, I think, of the shark family.
Yeah, Daniel, if you go over to the marina, you can go down the steps and just pet them. Pet them like puppies.
Pet them, swim with them, feed them. They have all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Shark stories?
Yeah. Just to chime in from somebody who's done snorkel tours, led those, etc., with the general public. If the water's salty, there's sharks in it. I think people should probably realize that. But there's over 500 species of sharks, and the majority of them are all smaller than us. So we're not on their target list, right? So, yeah, just to be a shark advocate. I just saw a picture, one of my friends from Texas, she sent me that they're actually selling shark cartilage capsules in pharmacies in the US. That's mind-blowing to me. That's happening right now. So just shark advocate over here.
That's for anti-shark, right? Is that what? Am I mistaken? Is that what they're trying to sell that as, an anti-shark thing? Or
no, it's just kind of a supplement. It's some sort of supplement with shark cartilage as its main ingredient, on the label. I was shocked. I was like, there's no way this is real. She's like, I just was in the Walgreens or whatever it was, and I saw it. She's also a marine biologist, so it was just my mind exploded. I was like, I cannot believe that is on a shelf anywhere, but let alone in the US. So yeah, it's really, sharks are, we are not their targets, to be honest. And I know people put them and paint them as something crazy. Not that any of you guys are, but just to be a little bit of a advocate for them.
I mean, have you seen Jaws?
Just a lot of sharks. Yeah, yeah, right.
We're really not
a lot of different. Yeah, swim with a lot of different species, and they really are acting on pure instinct. I've worked with way more orcas than I have sharks, and I'm way more scared of them. Not gonna lie, if I had to pick a predator to be in the water with, I would pick a great white shark any day of the week.
Colleen, while
we can do another live on that.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
While I have you up here, we had another question from Ingrid that says, are there things that you shouldn't do around sharks when encountering sharks?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think start with especially working in Hawaii for a long time with the threat of like a common threat of tiger sharks. I mean, start with not doing the things that are going to put you in danger. Don't go snorkeling or swimming after storms. Wait 3 to 5 days. Tourists don't know that. I didn't know that before I went to Hawaii, because if the water still feels good and feels nice. So, be smart ahead of time and don't put yourself in that situation to begin with. Excuse me. But if you are in the water and you do see a shark approaching you and there is no recourse, no cover, it's kind of like seeing like a bear. Make yourself as big as possible, back away from the situation, don't take your eyes off of them if you can, and just remember more people die from dog bites than shark bites.
Yeah.
And I say that as my beast is sleeping next to me.
Yeah. My beast just calmed down. She's not going to bite me anymore because she just ate, so she's good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think just
Sorry, no, go.
be smart ahead of time.
I love all that advice. I love it.
Yeah, you guys probably have great advice too. Yeah.
Well, no, you're definitely a professional when it comes to that. Ours is more just like, what we've picked up over the years. Like you never, like I don't let, like people always ask about me being afraid of our kids being in the water. And, I don't let them swim around sunrise or sunset. They know that like they're not allowed to do like, you don't want to make yourself look like prey, like no big splashes in the water, no big like whatever. And we've encountered a lot of sharks, and most of the time they're just like asleep, like they're just like hanging out and sleeping. And the story that I always tell is like we're from Cape Cod. Cape Cod is one of the highest populations of great white sharks. We love to surf, so we're in the water with them, and since recorded history on Cape Cod, there has been 3 shark attacks in all of recorded history on Cape Cod. And there was one recently that was fatal. Well, in 2016, that was fatal. So people love to talk about that. But yeah, the likelihood of a shark wanting anything to do with you is almost nothing. And I honestly do not like shark slander, because sharks are awesome. And also you're in their home. So just like be respectful of that. So yeah.
I love that, by the way. Can we have an anti-shark slander Logan now? That's great.
We have a funny story about sharks. So we were anchored just off Boca Grande, Key Boca Grande, and there's an area that's pretty shallow at low tide. It's probably about 6 inches of water, and all of a sudden this tiny hammerhead comes propelling itself through this area and is chasing like little fry. And we were fairly new to the boat at that point, and the kids take one look at this thing. I've never seen 3 teenagers move so fast and standing up in the boat, and I'm singing Baby Shark while they're all pointing at it.
Yeah, it's the only way to judge for tickets.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Anyone else? Quick shark story before we head out?
I think one rule of thumb too is, as I think that the lady on Marigot said, to touch on that, is if the water's murky, don't go in it, because you could be confused for something. They're not looking for us, but they are looking for food. So I think that's something to keep in mind, just making sure that if you can see through the water, feel free to swim in it, but if it's murky, stay out.
For sure. My big secret is to just have a Bella. So if you have a Bella on your paddleboard, she will bark at anything larger than a fish. So she's always been a great deterrent for sharks for me. So, well, I think that's about it, guys. We'll probably wrap up. We're right on time. So we usually try to do about an hour and a half. And anybody that's watching next time, you can always ask questions too, or feel free. We're all open to messaging, I'm sure, and answering any questions you might have about boat life or lessons learned or whatnot. But thank you, Sandy Lee, too, for being here. Thanks to all of our sailors for being here. Round of applause. You guys did awesome. Let me see if I can do a sound effect. It's going to take forever, but wait, it'll be totally worth it. Anyone else have anything to add? Anyone going live tonight? No lives tonight. I may or may not